Hey guys, welcome to Geekdom Movies. I hope everyone had a fantastic Thanksgiving weekend. We, of course, were really busy with our own family affairs and things like that, but this week we got a chance to finally see the new Disney Thanksgiving movie, Wish. So I have been very obsessed with the songs here, as Shannon and George both know, because I have just been texting them all kinds of soundtrack stuff for over the past month. And I had really high hopes for this movie. And because of that, I went in with like expecting Frozen El Canto level. Are these movies as good as Frozen El Canto? I would say, unfortunately, no, but that's not a bad thing. Those are like high level classic Disney movies in the last decade. I'll even put Tangled up there. Those three movies are considered like basically or like classics at this point. And El Canto only came out what 2 years ago, and it's been if you don't talk about Bruno.
No,
Uh,
no, no.
So the story is still really good. The characters are really good. Chris Pine as the king, him and the goat are basically scene stealers in my opinion.
Yeah.
You're here for the goat. If you're here for the star, and if you're here for the king that's played by Chris Pine, you're gonna have a great time. If you're expecting the girl to be as good as Elsa or El Canto's lead, unfortunately, no. But she didn't do a bad job. Like she did nothing
She's just
wrong.
perfectly serviceable.
She's perfectly served. That's a great example.
Yeah.
And my other biggest problem with this movie is the animation. I had that they opened the book and it's the first movie to connect to all the other Disney movies because the song goes "When You Wish Upon a Star." That's where all this starts. There's a lot we can talk about that. Again, either the animation will work for you or like me, it's not gonna work at all. And to me, unfortunately, the animation was jarring at many points. Not that it took me out of the movie, it was just suddenly I was like, oh yeah, like it's going back to looking like a page from a fairy tale book. And I don't know what to do with this.
There were scenes that looked gorgeous.
Yes.
And then,
that's
then there were other scenes where you're like, ooh, I don't think we had enough time to finish this one.
I think I like I said, it's a purposely done choice of like animation style.
Yeah.
I get everyone's trying to do the next Spider-Verse, and like I know Puss in Boots 2 tried to do it too.
That was amazing.
That was
Puss in Boots
amazing.
2
worked.
was amazing.
But
Yeah.
It
just
worked for
go
that one.
okay, but just go back to like Encanto, Frozen, Tangled style. I don't just keep it 3D. There's no reason to mess with what works. I understand you all sat there and watched Spider-Verse and went, "Oh my god, so original. They won an Oscar. Oh my god, it's amazing." I
But
get
for
it.
Disney movies, we don't always want original.
Or DreamWorks for that matter with Puss in
Yeah.
Boots. I still don't agree with I love Puss in Boots too, but that animation is still too jarring for me. Like even it's
It was
not
a little for
it's just the weird like I don't know what you're trying to do, and I don't know what you're trying to be. Just stop doing
They're
it.
trying to do 3D anime and it's not quite working.
That's what I'm thinking too. I'm thinking like it's a mix of anime 2D, mix of like Spider-Verse, what they tried to do. And I get it. Spider-Verse was groundbreaking. Nobody's disagreeing with that. It won a bunch of Oscars. It's probably gonna win a bunch of Oscars this year at the Oscars because the second movie was also really good. But guys, just like unless you know what you're doing, like Spider-Verse, stop. Like that's just my 5 second review of like just the animation style because I'll actually get more annoyed and complain more, so I'll stop myself. The story's fine. The story actually works here. The way they introduced how the Wish incorporates into other Disney movies, either it'll work for you or won't. For me, without going into spoilers, work for me. Like I was completely sold to like how this all started. Even though they want us to say it's Disney's 100-year anniversary. It's actually 101. Not your fault. It was COVID. It took a delay to get this movie out. 101. You know what? Dalmatians are there for you. 101 Dalmatians. So why not? 101-year classic Disney storytelling. I'm gonna give this movie.
I know you can't. I know you can't
One
do
star. No, I'm just kidding.
it.
I'm just saying, like
A wish.
I'm gonna give it a wish.
I really wanted to love this movie.
I did too. I was so
So
excited
you
for
wished.
I did wish. And I did. It was serviceable. I did like the songs. You know what? Yeah. You know what? I'm just being nitpicky. I'm just gonna go and say it's totally worth your time. some people might not like the animation style like me, and I'm being way too judgmental about it. If you don't mind the animation, watch the. I'll tell you this. Go watch the trailer for Wish. Then like say like whether that's working for you. And if the trailer doesn't hook you with the animation style, don't go see it. But if you're like, this is not that bad, what is Fahad talking about? The animation isn't rough. Go see it in theaters, because I think then you'll be just fine. It's totally fine. I'm still going to say the story works. I'm still going to say the music is on point. I'm still going to say there's a lot more to talk about. And I want to have a pet star and a goat just like Olaf. And yeah. Not golden popcorn, but close enough. Shannon.
Yeah, so I agree. I think this movie is like, it's not a 10 out of 10. It's not a gold star. But like, I'm glad I saw it, and maybe on a rewatch I'll like it better if maybe the music will be catchier the second time around. But I think it had the one song that is now going to be stuck in all of our heads that we've been singing all the way since we drove from the theater to his house to review it, and we were all singing the same song the whole way home. So there's one song that redeems the whole movie, and if it hadn't been in there, I wouldn't have been a fan of this film.
The songs aren't that bad.
I like upbeat, happy music. 4 out of these 5 songs are like slow and ballady and kind of sad,
Okay.
which I didn't think worked for a Disney princess movie.
I like power ballads.
Yeah, I like
The
power
two songs
ballads,
I think there was a good mix of like slow but also heavy. There was 3 songs that were like really loud. Like I think you're forgetting. And then 2-3 others that were just slow. It's a mix. It's still a mix. Maybe you just need a second
Maybe
rewatch.
I probably need a second rewatch because Fahad just reminded me that after Frozen 2 and Encanto, I said I didn't like the music. And then I rewatched both of them, and I've been singing Into the Unknown and We Don't Talk About Bruno for ever since those movies came out.
Yeah.
There were a lot of people that didn't like Into the Unknown, but then it's like,
so
after
good.
listening to it more, it's so catchy.
It's so good. It doesn't even make sense in the plot of the movie, and it's that good. We just rewatched the Making of Frozen 2 documentary because Rob hadn't seen it, and he leaned over at the end of this movie. He goes, "I am so glad you had me watch that documentary because it made me understand the animation like, I don't think they had enough time to finish the animation style. If you haven't seen the Frozen 2 documentary, they're like running out of time to finish Frozen 2, and that's why a lot of the plot details kind of don't add up. And
that actually
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Because I was like,
Wow.
something is really off here about the movie.
Yeah,
Now-
Frozen 2 was hard to...
like,
It was definitely not Frozen 1.
No.
Story
Frozen
and like how
was
good that movie
perfect.
was. Yeah.
and even with Frozen 1, they made a lot of last minute changes because Elsa was supposed to be the villain up until a couple months before the movie came out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she was going to be the villain.
Oh my God.
Yeah, you didn't
Okay.
hear that whole
Just-
story?
That changes
Oh my
everything.
goodness.
Yeah, Elsa was supposed to be the villain, and then when they started writing Let It Go, that was going to be her villain song, and then they started getting into her head and how she felt, and they wrote Let It Go as we know it today, took it to Jennifer Lee and Chris Buck, who are the showrunners for this movie as well,
Yeah.
and they said, well, we have to rewrite the whole movie because this song is so good, we can't let it go.
Let it go. No, that makes sense.
You know,
yeah.
for the production, when they do the documentary on this movie, it should not be a making of. It should be making a wish.
Making a wish?
That would be
cute.
that'd be perfect.
That'd be a
Disney's
good title.
Disney agents are watching this right now, going like,
They
"Oh
better.
my God, get
You
that down!"
better you better word
Write
it
that
like
down,
that.
write
That
that
would be
down.
perfect.
Yeah.
So in that documentary for Frozen 2, they showed you how they ran out of time and there were certain things they couldn't finish. I think they ran out of time on the animation. I know it's supposed to be a stylistic choice, but there were genuinely scenes in here that looked like they needed 5 more artists to work on them before they were anywhere close to being ready for a screen.
Okay.
Any scene that had the king in it looked gorgeous.
Mhm.
That king was beautiful.
Well, he did
the-
save Sansa a lot.
Yeah. The castle was gorgeous. The main character looked perfectly fine.
So that's the 2D animation you're talking about. That they
Yeah.
purposely chose to make it look that way.
They were unappealing to look at.
Yeah, my issue is the animation style choice. Like, I think in a boardroom meeting at Disney's offices when they were making this movie, they're like, what if you start with the book and then as the pages turn, it's like 100 years of animation, starting with the original When You Wish Upon a Star. But the book, what if the pages look like they come alive, and then you're
That's
in the book?
Every Disney movie starts that way.
But the 2D animation was literally the book pages. Like if you saw Shrek, Once Upon a Time, there was a
they
princess.
go rip and use it as toilet paper.
Okay, yeah, but do you see the style on the image of the
Yeah,
pages?
yeah.
That's what they were going for.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
They were going
That's-
for that.
Artistic style.
Yeah, I forgot what that's called.
It's like the
Illuminated script or what? No.
yeah. Like the way it was like a scribe would write in the Middle Ages on like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Bible. Yeah,
Yeah.
I totally. Yeah, I think you're right, but I don't think it worked. I don't think it worked. I think they needed to finish some scenes.
They were trying to go back to like those original
pages.
the
original,
the very original Disney movies. Like if
Right.
you think about Snow White, if you think about Sleeping Beauty, if you think
were
about those ones,
finished.
they started off where it morphed from the page itself.
Oh, I
just
see.
right
You're
into
right.
the
Oh, I see
animation.
what you're saying.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And I think they were trying to, instead of having it morph into it in
Yeah.
this one, they just wanted it to look like the page.
No, you're
in every scene.
Yeah,
And that's
Yeah.
why like I noticed especially one of the rooms, like the stuff in the background was almost like someone hastily drew it. Like that's what it looked like.
Right.
You know, it wasn't what you're used to when watching a Disney movie.
It's not what you're expecting.
No.
It was nice that they tried something new. So I think, there's some nitpicks, like you said. There's some things that I would have changed if I was Jennifer Lee or Chris Buck. But overall, it's a decent movie. I think kids will like the characters.
I think it'll look better on television than in a movie theater.
Yeah, probably.
Because I think the movie theater experience, you're looking for more of that grandeur, like animation style, where like the whole scope of the envelops you. That's what a theater experience is supposed to be, and that's not the animation style they went for. But I think at home, like watching it on Disney Plus, or on streaming,
Yeah,
or
then
DVD,
it'll look good compared to
So-
some of the junk animation.
So
Yeah,
you mean
maybe.
to tell me
I don't know.
Disney actually made this for home release?
It feels like a home release.
It doesn't feel like a home release. I think the animation style is just not. If it looked like Encanto and Frozen, just the animation, everything on screen would have worked.
Yeah,
Because
I
it would have
completely
popped
agree.
with the songs.
Yeah.
Slow or not slow, it would have just popped.
Yes,
Like
I
the
agree.
colors, the detail, everything would have just been like when I saw El Canto, when the one sister like she grows plants or whatever, like in El Canto.
Yeah.
That scene was mind-bogglingly amazing on the big screen in Dolby. Like,
Yeah.
Here it's like the colors are flat and dead.
Yeah,
And like
yeah,
there's
they
no
are.
besides the forest scene when the star, this is a little bit of a spoiler but not really. You already saw the trailer. If you did, there's a star that lands. It got grants wishes. Well, this star, there's one song in it. It's not major spoiler, so it's really not the big of a deal. The animals just start singing in the forest. That is the only scene where I was like, it's missing more depth and color. I noticed it in the mushrooms first, but as the forest scene, sorry,
That's too funny.
It looked like silly. It
Noticed it in
looked
the
like
mushroom.
silly symphonies, or like
yeah,
an old like an old Disney short, silly symphonies, or like what's the one where they all dance around? Fantasia. I think that's
Yeah.
kind of the style they were going for.
I understood the references and I understand the style choices. But like you said, it's just
not quite working.
it's still a good movie.
Yeah.
But if you're like me, who's stuck on the art animation, which I can't help myself, I love
Yeah,
visuals.
That's what
I'm
you
just-
go to a Disney movie for.
Right.
The
I'm just
animation.
like you could have. Anyways, George, to you.
All right. Well, I would have to say, man, I wish it was better. So it was.
So we're both like I really want to love this movie.
Here's the thing, like I'm so used to like having amazing plots and phenomenal animation, and I've been spoiled by Disney.
That's true.
And so watching this movie, it felt like everything was pretty basic, and
Yeah.
like not knowing that this was supposed to like kind of be a start of everything.
Yeah.
It just felt like they were reusing all the generic tropes I'd seen, and it was like, oh, okay, so this is a simple movie, okay,
Yeah.
Like I seriously wasn't that impressed with the story at all. I don't know. I really like the music, but
Yeah.
the story,
Very, very simple and predictable,
yeah.
which is fine. It's a Disney movie. But it was also kind of confusing, like not very clearly defined what the rules of this universe are.
I think I had to tell you at the end what the rules were. I remember, like, at the end of the movie, I was like, so this is what it all... I can't talk
Yeah,
about it.
you
'cause
had to tell
spoilers.
me at the end, but I was like, none of these people look like each other. Where did they all come from? They're not from the same culture. Like, okay, in Kanto, you're like, I understand what this family is, who they are, and where they live, and what time period they live in. I didn't know any of that. For this movie, I was like, why doesn't she even look like her family, and why did none of her friends, like, where did all these people come from? Like, what part of the world are we in?
No,
And,
they
like,
explain it. Her dad was white, and her mom is black.
like when she goes out into the woods, I'm like, is that as big as this world's gonna get? Like, we get a little bit of woods and a castle,
Yeah.
and that's it. Like, there's nothing beyond that. Whereas, like, the world of Encanto felt huge. Like, there's this entire world around it. So I don't. It just felt like a very small, contained movie instead of a big world to explore.
There
Yeah.
were I want to dig into that further, but I have to wait till spoilers.
Okay.
But, okay, so I would say some people might like it. So maybe go check it out if you see the trailer.
Watch it at home.
Watch it at home.
Mm.
All right, so we're going into our spoilers review. I feel like we have a lot more to talk about with this movie. So I will say I really enjoyed the ending, but I saw the ending coming. I've been following this movie for 2 years, unfortunately. I don't know. I get the magic of what this movie is trying to tell. The story of when you wish upon a star, it makes no difference where you are,
Mm-hmm.
up above the...
World so
High,
high. Wait,
like a
that's
diamond.
That's a
I know.
different.
That's
song.
Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Oh my gosh.
Why not? Let's go with it. I was thinking
What
of
the
Shannon.
heck?
I was thinking if Shannon would catch on, and unfortunately,
When you wish upon a star,
make
makes no difference who you are.
They got that part right.
When you wish upon a star, your dreams come true. Now, in this movie, when you wish upon a star, they have zero power and your dreams don't come true,
There we
Until the
go.
very end.
which makes no sense.
Until the very end.
The star doesn't grant wishes.
Yes,
No,
it does.
it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't grant
It's
wishes.
said 100 times.
It
in this movie,
literally
the star
said,
doesn't grant
"I
wishes.
don't grant wishes." Like
So
she's like, "Can you grant a wish?" And
why?
it just made a sad face and like kind of shook.
But
its
it has
head.
magic, and the goat can talk, and the chickens can dance. And...
Yeah,
That
but it
makes
doesn't.
no
It doesn't.
sense.
It doesn't grant wishes. It grants magic.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Okay.
So when you wish upon a star in this universe, your wish doesn't come true.
No,
So
Until the very end, when they
kinda
do.
F's
Well,
up
no, no, no,
the
no,
Not
no.
really.
premise of the movie.
it's just you have your wish
So the
back.
king does have the power to grant wishes, but he's been holding
the
it.
king does, but not the star.
No,
Yeah.
not the star. The star was there to release all the other wishes.
So when you wish upon a star, your dreams don't come true in this
Except
universe.
that, okay, I've seen the making of this movie, and I'll tell you Okay, her wish was to release the wishes.
Yeah.
That was her wish.
Mhm.
That's why the star came down. Her wish was the wish granted of
Right.
the wish of the star. So once the star came down,
Oh, so it did grant her wish.
exactly.
Oh.
Do you get what I'm saying now?
So why
Because
do
the
they
whole-
make such a big point of saying it doesn't grant wishes?
Because it already granted the wish. Her wish was granted the moment she made it. She was special, I guess. Like the other people, they hold on to their wish, but since she knew the scheme of the king,
So she didn't wish to the king; she wished to the star instead.
yes, because the king says, like,
Oh.
usually people wait like about a year before they start demanding wishes from me. She did it from like the first go. She was like, can you like grant my grandpa's wish, right? Like she was like, let's do this, right?
Uh-huh.
But he already broke the magic of like, because everybody in town was basically manipulated into thinking the king grants wishes when it wasn't true. The king just holds on to wishes and uses it for his own gain,
Right.
keep the power in his hands, right? That's what he was doing. He wasn't actually granting any wishes.
Oh.
He was stealing wishes. So when she figured that out, her wish, when she learned this, and like she went home, she said, Grandpa, I know what your wish is. I saw it. And then he's like, don't tell me. She stormed out of the house and she went to the river. And when she sang to the stars, she said, help me get people's wishes back so they can get their wish.
Yeah.
That's when the star comes down.
So
Okay.
I
That
make this
itself-
So
wish.
that's when her wish is granted.
Right.
Okay.
And the star, all it did was
This is more complicated than Predestination.
it's a very interesting movie, I think. Like it's more this is more Disney has done in a very long time, in my opinion, since like maybe Inside Out, I would say. It's just very they're doing a lot of little details and kids are just not gonna pick it up.
They shouldn't have made such a big deal out of saying the star doesn't grant wishes. So
it doesn't directly grant it.
Exactly.
Wait, are we going into spoilers?
Yeah, we're in spoilers.
Oh, we are. Okay.
Far into spoilers.
So because the reason the star doesn't grant wishes is because her wish already came true. She needs help releasing the wishes, which is what the star was trying to do from the first place. It was trying to help her see, like, I'm a magic star. I will help you get these wishes out of the.
How come nobody else wishes on a star?
They didn't. They were just stolen. So again,
you only get to wish one time.
So
she
what?
Didn't waste her wish.
She didn't waste, but everybody else in town
Everybody else did
because they thought they had to give their wish over
to the king.
So they all lost their wishes.
Something I want to ask at this point is, I touched the mic. Something I want to ask at this point is, why on earth did they wait till like halfway through the movie to say, "Oh, magic is banned here"?
I think he made that up on the spot.
When was magic banned?
He made that up right on the spot.
Really?
Yes, because he was trying to lose power.
No, he didn't make that up on the spot because the one kid said that first, and then he said it. But it's like,
so
this
the king,
whole time.
So the king is keeping all the wishes and the magic for himself. That's his whole ploy. Then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah, sense. But like the kid mentioned it. It was at least a third of the way through the movie before it was even mentioned, which made no sense because it's like he was a sorcerer. They were talking about magic, but they didn't bring up that rule, which you would think would make sense to why no one else was using magic.
The reason is because they all thought that the king is the only one who's allowed to use magic, and only the king grants wishes and take controls of the wishes. They were all brainwashed to a very high level. They're part of a cult. Is the best way to explain it. They're all part of this cult,
but originally
where the leader, they're all drinking the Kool-Aid, my man.
I have another question. How come the Asian chick was doing her wish of baking cookies?
She didn't.
That wasn't her wish. She wasn't 18 yet.
So when she under 18 and hadn't done a wish yet, so she's starting to do this thing of baking cookies, but so she hasn't given that up, and then she's gonna.
All the kids are happy because they haven't made their wish yet, but the older kid, he's sad, who became sadder and thought like all the adults think that the reason they're sad is because like
their wish hasn't come true.
Right, and the king still needs to grant it, but he holds the. They're all drinking the Kool-Aid of what the king is saying, including his wife. She broke all that. Like she saw for the system for what it is, and she saw the wishes, and she's just like, "This is evil. You're holding on to people's wishes."
I thought that the wish, like him holding on to their wishes, was going to be a scam. And they could have done what they wanted to do the whole time.
No.
If they had just remembered their wish.
No. Yeah, he was holding all their wishes and kept them and part of the cult.
I thought the moral of the story was don't let somebody keep you down. You can do whatever you want. You can make your own wish come true.
That part is true. I mean, that didn't change.
Yeah, but they
didn't believe it because when they gave their wish to the king, like, "Oh, we got newcomers. What's your wish? I'll hold it on you," and they like take it away. Mm-hmm. Like he's taking all their wishes away,
right? But
keeping them under lock and key.
I thought the moral was going to be, the king destroys all those wishes, and they're going to be like, "Oh no, our wishes can never come true." And then Asha's going to be like, "You can do whatever you want to do. You don't need your wish to be handed to you."
That's exactly what happened.
No, they handed the wishes back, and they got their memory back.
Yeah, well, that they got their wishes granted, and then they started making it happen. Well, the beginning. I guess of the story is the end of the story.
There's a bit of a clarification that needs to go on here. So basically, the thing was that when he granted wishes, he was actually like giving them magic to fulfill the wish, right? Whereas when someone had their wish, it was upon them to fulfill the wish.
Yes.
Without the aid of magic.
Yes.
So that's basically what was happening.
His magic is preventing the wishes, not keeping them. He's just preventing them. He got hold of. It's like it's like a rich king of the future keeping all the money and saying, I need to tax you to the highest amount so I can keep our kingdom safe. But really, he's just keeping all the gold to himself and keeping people poor. That's basically what the moral of the story is. You need a Robin Hood in there to come in and like get the wishes out or like get people's money out, right? So the wishes aren't his hold, but he made himself king and ruler to hold the wishes. And that was the issue. She called it out when she said, do that. Like, you can't just wishes, right? Like, so she broke that rule. So when her time came, because she was 2 months away from turning 18 at the same ballpark where she can make the wish, she was caught on fast enough to know that like she was never gonna get. So only she saw the falling star, nobody else.
Yeah.
Because
okay.
everybody else was
Gave up their
deluded by
wish.
the
Yeah.
they've been drinking the Kool-Aid, right? Like
yeah.
you notice even the 2D animation really goes into like 3D effects when the star first falls. Like I'm like, oh, that looks really cool, but then like it goes back to the dead 2D. Maybe that's why they're going for it. This world is dead because there's no magic anymore. The king is kind of ruling the magic and keeping it for himself. So when the star comes, you notice it's like very bright and full and 3D and like alive compared to like everybody else who look like dead watercolors. I don't know how to explain the animation.
Yeah, the watercolor thing.
Yeah, so I think like what's happening here is that she made the wish. Well, she just wants the wishes back for her friends and family. That was her ultimate wish.
Yeah.
But that also included everybody in town. She didn't understand the power of her wish itself. Like the star was trying to get everybody. That the star came to say like nobody's holding on to magic. You all have magic, assuming you don't have magic. That's what the star was showing them. Like, look, there's a goat that can talk. There's some chickens dancing. Here's some psychedelic mushrooms hanging out.
That's the fairy godmother power that she gets at the end.
Yeah. So
okay, that makes sense.
right. So she goes, and then like when she learns this, she's like, wait, the king doesn't hold on to all the magic, and he's caught. So what does he do? He goes and opens the forbidden magic, dark magic book, because that's the only way now to like get more power, right? Is to take everybody else's wishes and form it into something even more darker, which is what he started to do at the end. But then the star eventually wins, and everybody else realizes, wait a minute, you're a cult leader, like you're trying to brainwash us. This is what's that movie we saw with gosh, what's her name?
The cult? Oh, the one with Nicole Kidman?
Chris Pine was in it. He's the leader of the cult, just like this movie. 1950s, all the women are brainwashed.
Oh, Don't Worry, Darling.
Don't Worry, Darling.
Yeah.
This is Chris Pine is playing the same character here, only more Disneyfied than that movie.
Yeah,
They're both Chris Pine characters, but they're all trying to keep them.
They are, aren't they?
Yeah. Chris Pine's like actually talked about this in the making of the movie. It's like it's fun to like play the same character. One is Disney, one is more mature, but he's playing the same character.
I do have one bone to pick with this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I bet the king was right about some of those people, and some of them did have wishes that did go out of control.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
They proved that with the king, the guy who turned into a knight, and then...
Well, that was dark magic. That wasn't him.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
but again, there are people in other realms of Disney that do use dark magic. Sleeping Beauty, Cinderella, the list goes on.
I think
Maleficent, Little Mermaid.
Part of the issue was that the king started with what seemed like good intentions with it.
Then he got power.
And then he got power, and then he was scared of losing the power. And so because of that, that's when he started to withhold wishes.
Like his wife said.
And then,
he was such a good man and someone that had a good heart, then now he's just too proud to see any other way. It complete sense. You're right.
Okay. Again. So now we need to talk about how this movie...
We don't talk about
Bruno. Now we need to talk about how this movie leads into all the other Disney movies, and each person that gets their wish granted goes on to make a Disney film.
So this is the first kingdom. That's why people are coming from across the world to this kingdom, because Chris Pine's character created the first kingdom.
First kingdom ever
in the Disney universe, yes.
In the Disney universe.
Yeah, this is the very first.
In the Disney universe.
This is before. What was the first movie? Snow White.
Yeah,
Sleeping Beauty.
Before Snow White. Snow White was the first.
Okay.
I think, and then Sleeping Beauty was after.
So this is the original Disney movie before all the characters took their wish and went out their separate ways, and the next generation came. That's why they're showing you Mulan. That's why they're showing you Peter Pan and Lilo and Stitch and all these other things, because they're gonna go to their corners of the world and create their own.
So one of the people's wishes was to create a flying Wonderland in the sky.
Neverland.
And then he goes,
Neverland.
He goes, how about Neverland?
Yeah.
So that's implying that this person's wish was to create the world of Neverland.
Yes, you got it.
Mm-hmm.
So now all these Disney universes exist in one universe.
You got it.
So it's the Disney multiverse, cinematic universe.
Pretty much, yeah. They're trying to tie it all together to the one original wish that started it all with this.
Okay. So, do we think that the dad who the Saba, that he was the guy that
Came up with the song,
Came up
yeah.
with. Oh, he came up with the song.
Yeah, When You Wish Upon a Star is what Disney says.
Okay.
I think they're trying to.
That kind of makes sense.
Again, like I said, if the animation didn't throw me off, this movie would be.
It'd be fine, yeah.
But because the animation they tried to do, I think they were trying too hard to go.
You know, something I would like to point out that was really cool and had a lot of depth to it was the fact that they showed that basically her grandpa was right all along, that he wanted something for like the next generation. He wanted to show something to the next generation.
Yeah.
And obviously, as you said, that ends up being the song for it, the Wish Upon a Star song.
Yeah.
But if you notice, the first people to fight back against the king were that new generation.
Yeah.
That's
So
true,
basically,
yeah.
that
Because
was
it's always the new generation that's gonna be like, that seems too scary.
so the king was in his own messed up way right about the fact the new generation was going to be his downfall.
Yeah, of course, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
They also thought that they had to stay in the city itself and let them rule you to have the wish come true. Once they realized they had the power, they're also weak. They're like, oh, I get my wish. Like you said, like Neverland.
So does
and...
the star help them
That
create
makes
these
me
magical
wonder.
worlds?
I'm sorry, what?
So the star helps them create Neverland and create the
Whatever
world of
whatever your
whatever-
wish is, yeah.
So they all wanted to create a universe.
I think eventually
You
they
know.
want to create a universe.
You know what I'm wondering about? I'm wondering if they tried to put a little bit more symbolism in here. So basically his palace, right?
Mm-hmm.
How it starts with a half an arch and then just stops there.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it's almost like that arch from the
doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo.
yep, it stops at him.
Ooh, yeah. I didn't even notice that. You're right.
The movie's a lot deeper than we actually originally thought.
That's
like I
true.
said, I think the movie will work better
On
in
a
our
few more watches.
Oh yeah, this movie's gonna be
Yeah.
like, oh wait, I really didn't get it at first, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I like repeat viewings of certain movies. Usually doesn't happen. Other things like Oppenheimer and Barbie, I like watching more adult, more creative ideas. I just think this movie might have tried. The kids that grow up watching this movie are gonna look back on this movie 20 years from now and
I'll go,
be like, "This was
"Oh."
way bigger than we thought." Originally.
This movie
Yeah.
will be one of those cult classics.
Yeah.
In 30 years.
Yep.
Yeah, I think you're right.
'Cause,
It's
like,
not
I
going to be
heard-
big, but it'll
No.
have a cult following.
Right,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I remember watching Treasure Planet and Atlantis as
Yeah,
a kid.
I do too.
Ah,
And then
so
growing up
good.
and rewatching it, I'm like, this movie is so deep. But then I look at the reviews and people are like, it bombed. Like both
Yeah.
Atlantis and Treasure Planet are like
Makes no sense why
bad
it bombed.
reviews, and people in the theater at the time were like, this movie sucks. And
And
I'm
people
like,
love Treasure Planet.
that's funny because today people would say like
Yeah.
it's one of the best movies ever made.
Yeah.
And in fact, I consider Treasure Planet Atlantis one of the like in my top 10 greatest films.
Yeah.
I've heard Atlantis doesn't hold up, but Treasure Planet is like amazing.
Oh,
Atlantis is
no.
amazing.
It's good?
Atlantis holds
The
up. by far.
animation
Rewatch.
style might not be perfect, but
Yeah,
it is.
it's
It's
still
such
really
a good
good.
story.
I'll have to rewatch. Okay.
But yeah, I think this movie is gonna have the same effect. Even if today's general audiences might get it and the parents might not appreciate it, I think the kids that grow up watching it are gonna have a very special place for them in their heart. I had this conversation with a friend of mine recently, and I was like, people who were kids watching the pre-Star Wars movies love those movies and really say they're good. But
I
all of
liked it. Yeah, I liked the first Star Wars movie. Like number one, it's my favorite Star Wars movie.
right, but the adults at
Sorry.
the time hated
They
it.
hated
Oh
it,
yeah, they couldn't.
And
stand
they're
it.
like, oh, but those kids that grew up now watching the Disney movies with Ray say like it sucks, but you've already seen it. The
The
young
pod
kids
racing. I want to be a pod racer.
and the kids today that are watching those movies with Ray are gonna go up to say like those movies were amazing.
Yeah,
and the
probably.
best. And then when they come up with episode 10, 11, 12, or whatever they do, they're going to be like, this is not as good as Ray. Ray was the best. They're going to do the same thing that we did and they
Probably,
did, you know?
yeah.
So I do think there is a certain thing that like people like Disney are aware of, which is like, hey, these movies are like this and we're introducing them to these movies for kids. Because how many adults are gonna be like, oh yeah, that's Snow White, cool. The kids that grow up are like, who are these characters? What is happening here?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, that's Sleeping Beauty with the mirror. Oh, that's Peter Pan. Can we watch that? And then you're gonna pop in Peter Pan. And those
So started
kids...
off with this movie. No.
Well, that's the goal, right? Because you got to keep the magic alive at some point, and you got to get
Yeah.
kids interested in these. Like, then what's the point of Disney World and Disneyland and any of those amusement parks and toys, right? Like, it would be pointless. The whole reason the Disney Empire exists is to have kids believe in magic and wishes. And for today, I think they understood, like, hey, it's been like 20 years since we talked about these movies, and we kind of have to bring it back to like talking about why they're important, or else like Disney doesn't make sense anymore. And for that reason, I think I really appreciate where this movie is trying to go back to the first, like very original, because even we weren't alive 100 years ago, right? Like, yeah, like we all heard of Cinderella, Snow White, some of us even watched it, but at the end of the day, like somebody had to introduce us to like, to say like, hey, this is what Disney was. This is what Disney animation did. This is the history of Disney and why it may be like everywhere now, but at the time, like no kid had these fairy tales and stories that anybody could watch and kids could get into and learn a moral lesson. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. Just some 5 cents thoughts about what Disney's trying to accomplish and do today and reconnect to like their old ways, which is never a bad thing. I don't know. What did you guys think? Would you have you seen it? Do you think that the movie holds up to like what all the hype was, or do you guys think, it could have been a lot better? We don't know. We'll find out. Hey, how about this? Here's another question. What do your kids think of this movie? That's the most important part. Like,
it's for the kids.
Yeah, like kids, tell us.
Did Lin-Manuel Miranda write "This Is the Thanks I Get"?
Oh, I have no idea.
Because it sounds like him. But it sounds like Disney trying to sound like. It was written by Benjamin Rice and Julia Michaels, and it definitely sounds like a Lin-Manuel
Julia Michaels.
I know those names, surprisingly. They must have done other music movies. Anyways, thanks for checking out our review of Wish. I hope your wish was granted with this movie if you did see it and you liked it. Come back next week for Wonka.